Merry Christmas!
Hi, this is Chris from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for watching and listening. Have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
This is your host, Chris.
No! God, please, no! No!
I know, I'm sorry, but he's cheap and available.
How rude!
Ho, ho, ho. Well, that's enough about my last 3 dates. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye. Hello! Look at me, I'm only half what I used to be. Let me swallow that Viagra. There you go. How are you doing? Wherever you are in the world, one of those will apply to you. And this is LTID TV1. I'll try that again with my teeth in. LTID TV1 from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us. Do get all your oh my God, I can't talk tonight. Do get all your comments in the description below. Before we start, I just want to... A couple of shows that we've got coming up. It's a brand new one on Thursday. Super Kate, she will be pixing and mixing it. Let me just get rid of that, and then you can see what we're going to be doing. Every Thursday, Friday in the new year, she will be picking. Actually, looks rather hot there, I must say. And so do you, Kate. She will be picking who she thinks should be starting in the Leicester City 11 for the next game, which, of course, this week is Newcastle. And also coming up, a week on Wednesday, I haven't got a graphic for it yet, so you'll have to do that one. It's the Christmas show. You'll see, just to prove that Brad and Kate aren't one and the same people, all the 8 presenters will be here together. They will. Ooh, how exciting for our Christmas special. And guess what, everybody? I've got some news. I have a letter. Yes, look, to Leicester Till I Die from Santa and his little helpers. And in there, I've got everybody's elf names. I'm saving that because if I do it before, nobody will turn up. We're here to talk Ruud. Not literally. You wouldn't allow me to do that. But Ruud van Nistelrooy, look, 8 days, 2 games, 4 points. What's happening? Well, I've got 2 experts in to tell me. I'm going to shut up because I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. And we'll bring in Brad and Kate. Brad, first of all, good evening, sir. Craig with the beard, how are you doing?
Good evening, Chris. I'm doing all right, mate. It's all fun in the hood, isn't it? I mean, I have to admit, when you said you want to come on and talk Ruud, I thought, oh, this will be a great show. I get to do all sorts of things. And then you meant the manager, and I nearly said no, but I already agreed to it by then, hadn't I? So
Yeah. And I thought, well, if we're going to talk Ruud, we might as well get the show potty mouth in. And let's get to it and say hi, Kate.
Evening, how are we doing?
I thought you'd frozen then for a minute. Let it go.
Can you hear
let
me?
It go. I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, are you there? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes. Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you?
It looks like I'm a bit stuttering.
I think you're a bit behind. You've got a little behind.
It's a movie. It's a book. Lord of the Rings.
That's the first time I've been told that. Trust me.
Every woman's dream, isn't it?
So we're doing rude chat, and we've started talking about rings already. Brilliant.
Hey, it's all good to go.
Is that better?
You wait till next Wednesday when you see what
I'm going to come out and come back in.
Okay, you go out and come back in. Take the dog for a walk. She's gone.
We're off to a great start, folks. We're off to a great start.
We are. I have to say, Brad, while we're waiting, your name is brilliant.
Oh, mate, I'm gonna be in the show for 3 seconds if I don't like it.
Hey, I went online and got these.
Oh God.
Yes.
Oh,
That's the only first time I've been on Pornhub for ages. Anyway, super rude, says Steve, and he's having a giggle as well. Shall we see if she's actually working this time? I mean, I've seen Captain Scarlet puppets that have been more in time. I'm not sure who you're blowing a kiss to. Well, that's probably Brad.
Oh.
Can I just say, Brad?
Is that better?
That is better.
What?
Can you hear us now?
I was saying that trust Brad to start off the rude talk by talking about rings.
I just say, I don't think Brad or me actually picked up on that. I think that's it too.
That's the first.
I was just trying to play charades. I was trying to guess.
As long as she doesn't start doing Magic Mike, we'll be okay.
Not tonight. It's my night off.
It's your night off. Well, thankfully, Brad's got a night off. We managed to prize him and Jess apart and get you on screen here, Brad. I've seen your latest post on, I think it was TikTok. The woman of mine that's made my year. Oh, it's so sweet.
Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, we embarrassed you enough.
Yeah, anyway, see you later, folks. Come on.
Your face is almost as red as your t-shirt.
Well, that's why I thought I'd blend in. I like the chameleon effect, mate.
Mate, well done. Really, really happy for you, as you know.
Cheers,
right, let's talk about Ruud van Nistelrooy. Thunder Fox just come in. Few beers in Newcastle this weekend. Lovely people in Newcastle, but being a Leicester lad, we want the win. Do you know the thing about Newcastle? I don't know if anyone else did this. It would be brilliant, but it's just full of Geordies. Oh, that went down well, didn't it? Right. I'm going to put Kate on top because I believe Kate likes to go on top. So there we'll go. Come to you first, Kate. It's brilliant under Ruud at the moment. I know it's only 2 games, but what he's done in 8 days, what can you do with the rest of the season?
Yeah, and you know what I'm like? I hate to slag other managers off, and I hate to use a lot of aggression toward and negativity towards people because I don't like it. But I do feel like we've all of a sudden got a driver behind the wheel. That's genuinely what I'm feeling like with this. And it's really quite reassuring. And, okay, we do need some direction. The players do need a leader. And that's how I felt the last few games, that I've looked at a team with the driver behind the wheel.
I mean, Brad, when you look at the games under Cooper, and we've said it ourselves many times on post-match, he'd had, 13 games or 12 games in charge, but there was just no improvement, was there? And Ruud's come in and he suddenly got us fighting. Yeah,
there was a case of going, there's a problem here, I'm not going to fix it. I think there was 2 levels of different managers, and we're seeing it so obvious in just the 2 games that Ruud's had in charge. Ruud's looked at his team and gone a bit like John Terry and Dave Smith did with Soyuncu, didn't they? Kind of went, what the hell's he doing in the reserves when he should be the first team? It's almost like Ruud went, why are you guys acting like you're a new club that's never been playing like a new team that's never been in the Premier League and you're crapping yourselves? you're a good squad. We can go at teams and we might win games 4-3. We might lose games 4-3, but we've got the quality in here to get way more points than you've got on the board right now. Let's go and do it. And Cooper was kind of like, let's keep it 0-0, lads. Let's keep it 0-0. I mean, the different shows, I put a post that unfortunately the BBC, you two need to have a word, didn't upload in the fans thing, right? But you two specialists for the BBC, come on. I said, if that was Cooper playing that game, the players would have started arguing with each other. It'd have ended 4-0 and more Cooper out chance would have started. Match day, 2-0 down, 4 minutes to go. There wasn't a head dropped. Every head was still focused and believing, no, if we get a goal, we can get something from this. And
talking of the BBC, Kate, bbc.co.uk/Leicester City. Foxes never quit. Well, they don't now. It was my week this week, and that was what I wrote on the Fans Voice. And I started it off because I did write it on Sunday. And on the 8th day, Ruud van Nistelrooy did not rest, but instead continued to raise the dead. I did feel, even when Brad said at 2-0 down, if that had finished 2-0, I would have still been, great. It wasn't, a bad performance.
Yeah, I felt like that as well. I felt like, to be honest, we didn't deserve the draw over the 90 minutes, but we changed it. It was so refreshing to change it. Like, we brought Daka on, we went 2 up top. It meant that we potentially were going for it and could have left ourselves susceptible in defence. So he brought Woot on for some pace.
Yeah.
There was just a plan, and it's refreshing to see a plan B because we've not had that for many a year, not just under Cooper, but obviously previously under he who shall not be named.
Did he even have a plan A though?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I don't think we fully know what went on with Cooper. I don't know whether he was just poor at engaging the players. His tactics were just, the players were like, nah, that is just not going to work. And it played out like that each time. I don't really know. It's hard to speculate on what actually went on, but for sure there was something so wrong, but which was obvious. And then when you see something going right, it also is quite obvious. And yeah, I agree with you. If we'd have come away from that game 2-0, it wouldn't have worried me because Brighton were a super outfit. They played some lovely stuff. And I was really encouraged to see the defence was better. It was more of a collective unit. I don't think there was any real mistakes per se. I think Jordan had a stinker. I think everybody would agree that Jordan Ayew had a stinker, but I understood why he started him. So there was just understanding, empathy. There was a real effort. And like you said in your piece, like a Foxes never quit seems to have returned to the KP, which was great to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Brad, I said here, Ruud's first match, although he wasn't in charge, he watched just against Brentford. And I've said he's taken a team who, against Brentford in particular, looked like a pub team on a Sunday morning after a heavy session the night before, although that could be being unfair to pub sides around the country. That kind of, to me, summed up what we've been watching for 12 games. A team that the new boss is stood in the stands or sat in the stands watching you, and you put that sort of performance in. Although perhaps it was good because he saw what he actually had to work with.
Yeah, it was probably weirdly a good thing because he knew exactly, he could see all the issues, all the problems, all the, for lack of a better word, toxicity maybe in a dressing room to kind of go, wow, I know exactly how to approach this. I know exactly how to go into that training ground centre first thing in the morning and how to deal with this and just clean slate it for everybody. We probably said it on the post-match thing, Chris. I said, we know we wanted to see some fight. We wanted to see some fight from the players. The only fighting they did on that game against Brentford was fight amongst themselves. And it was, like you said, night and day, Chris, in between the Brentford game and the West Ham game. It was almost like they went, right, now it's serious talk. Whatever Ruud said was like a handful of rockets up their arses because they were completely different in their attitude on the pitch. And also, Kate, we don't say plan B. Shush, it's banned around here. We don't say it.
He might even have a plan C up his sleeve. Who knows?
Shut up, Chris.
I mean, it was nice to see against West Ham. We were 1-0 up at half time, and he still changed things around. I mean, my God, when was the last time that happened?
Yeah, it's just refreshing to see, isn't it? And I feel like I've learnt a little bit watching how Ruud does things. Like it's been quite educational, and things that we haven't seen in a long time on the pitch. We've never really tinkered with the defence, particularly when we're still in games, but he went for it. And like we've always said, and I consistently say, to score any goal in football, you have to take some form of risk. It's always a risk to bomb forward and score, but that's exactly what the game's about. It's always a calculated risk, and you want to take it with reinforcements in place if needs be. And it just felt like everybody is starting to know their role. I wouldn't say fully knows it yet. I still felt like we could have given me a heart attack at times, but everybody is sort of bought into this new methodology of how Ruud wants to do it, and he's just coming across as a bit of a class act, isn't he, at the moment?
Yes, yeah. I mean, like you say, I don't particularly want to sort of shoot me load too early, as they say, but
Wow.
Do you know what? I was trying to think of something to say. That's the first thing that came into my mind.
Overexcited would have been. That's
how I feel.
Would have been more than adequate.
Because I don't want to get carried away with things, but no, he's got Ruud on the mind, so he just came out about premature loads.
I couldn't get it out of my mind. I really couldn't.
I think that's quite a lot about you.
Yeah, it probably does, actually. I apologise for that. But that's how it is. It is like watching porn at the moment, Brad, isn't it, to put it bluntly?
Come on, Brad. Is it like watching porn? Do tell us.
No, because I don't ever get out of rouse watching it like that. You know what I mean? I was very nervous and feeling a bit disgruntled at that time. I didn't really want to do much for 86 minutes.
You know you have trouble with premature load.
Only in words and
you
speak,
deny
mate,
it, Brad.
Yeah, only in words and speaking and sentences. That was still funny. But no, I mean, it just showed. I mean, his actions on the sideline. Yeah, I know. I saw the comment. It got me smiling. Yeah. But no, his actions on the sideline as well are a hell of a lot better. And like you say, Chris, he gives fans the information as to why. Maybe things you don't even notice. I didn't even notice at halftime he'd made that subtle change. But he said, look, I had Christensen on the overlap against West Ham in the first half and it worked well. But then I brought him back. I changed it up a bit because they started to expose us a little bit down that side. Don't get naughty, Chris. I said expose, nothing else. Right? So he registered something that he didn't need to go in there and go, yeah, that was great, but you didn't do this, you didn't do that. He went, right, that was great. What I need you to do now is this and this and this. And the players just got on with it. I think his mantra and how he approaches it towards the players, how he says it and the changes he makes, it shows you, some managers sit there and just go, your favourite seal, just do that and don't really act upon it. But he's not only noticing these things and getting his little notepad out, he's acting upon them, and it's refreshing to see. And I think the players, like Kate said, are already going, yeah, this guy's speaking sense. He's seeing things that we're not noticing, and it's helping us get the points on the board and play well.
Let's talk players for a second, Kate. I said, I mean, we did a programme the other day, didn't we, Brad? And we rated all the players so far this season, A to D and then U minus. For those of us that are old enough to remember those markings, at school. Because I wanted to see how they were different at the end of the season when we go back and compare and see what Ruud has done to them. Because, yes, we've been blaming the players, but look, when Enzo came in, he moved Ndidi and got a different tune out of him. He made Vestergaard into, prime time, Messi. So all those players that we have criticised to now, they get a clean sheet, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. He's wiped the slate clean, and he wants to make his own mind up, because you can't really assess a player based on previous performances when your theory and way of playing is so different to your predecessor. So he will he will obviously have done the rounds a bit in terms of what personalities do I need to handle, who are the troublesome people in the dressing room, who are the really positive people in the dressing room that I need to get on my side. And obviously number one with that is Vardy, I would think. I don't think he's super vocal in the dressing room, but he's such a leader naturally because of the legend status that he's now got. And I would think Connor Cody's going to be a big part of that. And I think we've already seen that he's sticking with him. And Connor Cody is so mouthy, to be honest, on the pitch. You can hear him sometimes. He's such a natural. He just moans at them all the time, which is quite refreshing to see. And that's kind of been a thing as well. But the most exciting couple of prospects for me is Samare, which Cooper has to take some credit for, but also Bobby. Like, De Cordova-Reid has scored twice in 2 games. I know once was disallowed, but he is starting to be like, oh, he's just available. He's there. The most important thing is he puts himself in the right place at the right time to be available. And are we finally seeing the reasons why we bought him?
Just to go back, I remember I used to have a job as a roofer, and I was pleasuring myself.
I thought you said a Ruud fan then.
No, a roofer. And I was pleasuring myself once and got caught doing it on the roof. But my boss said, "Oh, don't worry, we can wipe the slate clean."
I actually believed you. I actually believed you.
Okay, I don't know what's worse, the joke or you believed him.
Oh, for goodness sake, that's
so you believe that I would actually, if I was a roofer, I would be pleasuring myself?
I don't know.
I mean, some of the things you come out with are crude enough, mate. You never know.
I'm going to stick with you. Probably wrongly, Kate. But I was on a show with Luke last night, one which is now deleted because of not what I said, but what he said. And there was a guy on, I haven't met him before, but he's a huge, huge Ndidi fan. And he wouldn't have it that he was rubbish earlier on in the season, but he accepted that at least I'd changed my mind because obviously I'd made him man of the match. It's funny what you get when you put square pegs in square holes, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Wilfred has looked a lot more accustomed and comfortable in the position that Ruud's played him in to date. I'm not going to get carried away because I still think that each season in the Premier League that ticks on, you can't really afford to carry people that aren't comfortable with the ball. And I will stand by that. Wilfred is definitely improved because he's gone back to what he knows. I personally think I would prefer a pairing of Winks and Samare. But I understand that Wilf also has his uses, and I think against better teams he comes into his own. But maybe we'll just see it all evolve. But it started off on the right footing. I think using him as a high 8 is just a bit kamikaze, to be honest, and it really lets the flow of the game down if we're counter-attacking because he just can't do it. But yeah, it felt a lot more assured having those two in the middle of the park for sure. I just feel like with Samari and Ndidi, there's a little bit too much overlap, and I think they're a little bit too similar.
We're probably going to have neither this week, so it'll be interesting to see what you go for on Thursday.
I heard that Wilfred was seen going out the ground with his ankle strapped up, but I thought it was his hammy. But it seems to be getting...
Somebody tried to post in the group he was out for the rest of the season, but I'm not going to post that until I know if that's going to be the case. Yes, Joe, but Kate is getting the licence. And in fact, we're supposed to both get the same amount of money, but the BBC have been as woke as they are. I pay her 3 times as much as they pay me. So let me just say that is where your money is going to. Brad, a couple of players I want to talk to you about. We'll start with the one that you love to hate, De Cordova-Reid.
Who loves to hate him?
I gave him a U-, which was the lowest of any of them. But that was under Cooper. Now, Kate made the point.
A-star student now.
It doesn't matter how good or how bad you are, but if you're not in the right place at the right time, things aren't going to happen. And yes, he should have had 2 goals. He helped set up one. And like you say, whatever he does, if he literally does nothing for 89 minutes, but in the 90th minute happens to gets the ball to put it in the net, he's doing his job.
Yeah, exactly. And, that U- must be a nice, lovely shiny A-star now, Chris. Surely his performances since then have Turn on its head. He's going to hate this end of the show when he has to go, the Cover Reed gets a B or something like that if he keeps going like this. And I'm going to sit here like this. But no, like I said, Chris, look, we've seen it. And again, like Kate gave a little bit of credit to certain players under Cooper because they started to feature. I sort of feel that was more of a manager's desperation to try and shore things up and get results by putting 2 CDMs actually in CDM with Wilf and Samare playing that back line. But look, you get chances, and now we've got. I was joking at the start of the season, well, tongue in cheek, saying it was a redemption arc season, but maybe that's what it's all about. Christensen, Samare, Cody, even Daka can score goals. Maybe there's an apocalypse going to start. Let me just check. Daka scored. No apocalypse. No apocalypse starting just yet. But no, all joking aside, it's good to see, and it shows you what a different manager can do. One brought in a player, never used him. One sent him straight out on loan. I'm talking about Christensen there, and then one plays him week in, week out, pretty much.
I just want to talk about your love child briefly. Not sure whether Samari's on top and Brad's on the bottom or the other way around. But Kate mentioned, Samari did start to make the breakthrough under Cooper. So are we sort of not giving Cooper maybe a bit of credit that he deserves? Or was it a case with Cooper that he thought, well, I might as well try that?
Definitely. Right, that was for me, wasn't it? Because it's my love child. Just making sure before I let Kate have the spoils on it.
No, I did say I was going to stick with you for that one. Like you
said. Just making sure, because I know Kate's now all aboard the Love Express when it comes to Samare. So, I want to share the limelight with her on it. But, I couldn't convince her with Ndidi, but we'll work on it. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. I do feel like Cooper was at wit's end going, I'll try anything to try and get this team going and keep my job here. But he has developed over a player, over time. And this is what I mean. People are easy to slate somebody, but you've always said this, Chris, even about Daka. You can't give everybody all this hate when they're never really playing. And 10 minutes here and not playing for 3 months and getting 45 minutes, you can't. It's unfair to judge somebody. There's a reason he was in high demand and we paid the money we paid for him with what he achieved at Lille. In that season where they did a Leicester, didn't they? They broke the, they broke the barrier on that sense of things by winning the league ahead of PSG. And he's showing that now, Chris. He's constantly in the discussion, in league games at least, for a shout-out or is even given the Man of the Match award by at least one of us in there, whether it's Kate, whether it's Alan, yourself, me, or Tom, or Wayne, or whoever, He's been a consistent for us at the end of Cooper's reign and at the start of Ruud's reign. And I think he actually played his part in breaking up some attacks against Brighton and putting us on the front foot. I think he helped in the build-up to the goal as well. So it can only get better. If players like that are coming out of the cold and playing like that, then this can surely only go one way and keep going well.
Yeah. Jackson, hi Jack, how you doing? Welcome along. Mavididi needs to start against Newcastle. We're going to talk about that obviously on Thursday, the team, Kate. But let's go back to Ruud. What do you think his priority has been since he's come in?
I think the first thing he would have had to do would be to just achieve the buy-in to his philosophy. Like he said, he had a really big chat with them on that first day. So I think off the pitch had to be done first. I think there was a lot of unhappy, disgruntled, exasperated players. I think JJ would have been one of those for sure, because JJ has carried the weight of the world on his shoulders this season. He's had a torrid season. And I don't just mean performance-wise, because some of the performances aren't all his fault, but he would have felt so responsible because we know he's a player.
Wasn't he?
So you've got to kind of almost heal some wounds with these players to then say, right, we're starting afresh, we're wiping the slate clean and we're going to go on. And then on the pitch, I think he would have had to address the sheer amount of massive chances that we were conceding. What are you laughing at?
You're back to slates again.
I see. He would have had to address the sheer amount of massive chances that we're giving away, and the fact that we're relying so heavily on a really informed goalkeeper. And I feel like he's done that. I still think we give away a few too many shots, but it felt much more assured, particularly against Brighton. West Ham dominated us. He barely had time to do anything there, but that would have been his first thing, was just to get the organisation of the team and figure out how you're going to move the ball back from the back to the front. And I think he seems to be making some good progress in that department.
Brad, I mean, looking at that defence, and was it Johnny Evans, I think, at Man United that wrote that he is very defensive. He's very hot on getting the defensive side, which for an attacking manager is also good to see. He's obviously made the changes there. I was glad. Look, I've not been a FaZe fan, but what I'm getting with Ruud, which I didn't get with Cooper, was I'm understanding why the changes are being made. Kate said it earlier, I think it was, that when FaZe came on, we knew we needed that bit of extra speed at the back. He'd gone for the experience. What do you think of this new defence? I mean, obviously at the moment it's very much, we haven't got Ricardo, etc., so that we're a bit limited. But Vestergaard and Cody in there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, over the last few weeks before his arrival, and most chastising in the game where he sat and watched us, Brentford, we have suddenly gone from saying, oh, well, we only lost 2-1, we only lost this, to shipping in, was it 7 goals in 2 games against Man U and Brentford. We were worrying about that goal difference. So if you have two shored up defenders, Hoof and Morgan, like, if you will, in Cody and Vestergaard, that aren't blessed with pace, but they know how to pass ball, they're experienced, they know if they're put under a little bit of pressure, they know how to kind of return the ball to Mads or get the ball out of danger, or at least put in an area where Leicester can reshape themselves and go again, sort of thing. And a bit like at the other end of the pitch, Chris, where you maybe put on another body to attack a tired defence, you get a laggy and a tired attack that are constantly at you and keep getting stopped and blocked off by the defence, by the Leicester defence. You have that phase or that Acoli on, not only are you making sure that the legs at the back stay fresh, because Vestergaard, bless him, and Cody, the old of the generation, so it was pointed out why he took him off against West Ham. He was getting run ragged, Vestergaard. He needed to come off, otherwise gaps, they're going to exploit it. And it gave us a burst and extra body to push in midfield, so we could even go a little bit further up the pitch in our midfield area as well, so we could get even further into West Ham and then obviously Brighton's half. It's just keep it simple, stupid, as he's saying. It feels like that's what Ruud's just done. He's just gone, you guys do better when you do this, right? Okay, well, let's do that then. And that's exactly what you get the feeling with. And them changes throughout the side show that, Chris, not just in the defence. So he's doing a really good job at shoring us up.
Sticking with the defence, Kate, and we'll talk about Justin. Even in these last 2 games, and he has taken some unfair criticism, I don't like him playing on the right, I've got to be honest with you, but we haven't got a lot of choice at the moment, and he can play that side. But it's not always his fault, but he always seems to be the one that gets the blame. But even he's looked better under Ruud.
Yeah, I think it's because Ruud has decided to just use him purely as a right back for now, whereas Cooper tried to give him this dual role of out of possession, in possession, which just left us so exposed. I mean, there won't be a guy fitter in the team for sure. He's constantly, JJ was constantly bombing up and down the wing, because in possession, he was a right winger, and out of possession, he was a right back. So he never, ever really stood still and saw the game in front of him if we were under attack. And it often left us so exposed, and he had to turn turn on his sixpence almost to get back every single time. Whereas this time, I feel like Ruud's just using him as a right back, giving him a much simpler task, and building that protection using probably Samare and Wilf to kind of shelter that side of the pitch, really, which is much better. Like Brad said, it's just more simple. Once you've done the simple stuff right, you can perhaps add complexity to it and multi-level, different ways of playing. But if you're not doing the fundamentals right, you won't really get anywhere, and you'll just keep making the same mistakes, and people will punish you consistently down that side, which is what we saw happen.
Interesting. I'll stick with you for this one, Kay. I was watching NBC Sports. Not that I stood up and watched it. It was a YouTube clip, and they were talking about Cooper being sacked, and it was Robbie Earle and Tim Howard were the two pundits on there, and Robbie Earle, whilst expressing surprise that Cooper had gone so quickly, understood why we'd made that decision early on. And Tim Howard was pretty much in agreement. I mean, it was nice to hear pundits speaking sense, On one hand, you can say, well, yes, it was early, but he understands why we've done it. And when you're looking at how Wolves are now getting on West Ham, getting Ruud in, because he would have been in contention for those other games at other clubs, and I think he wanted a Premier League club. You've got to say credit to Top for getting it right this time.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I thought we would and possibly should give Cooper till Christmas. I don't think that I was going to counteract my argument there. I don't think it would have made any difference, and I'm not sure we'd have seen any improvement. But I just felt, I still feel there's an unfairness about it. But it's the nature of the beast, and you get paid handsomely for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very un-Leicester like this. And I said it before when Ruud was appointed, this is a critical appointment that we have to get right, because we're not doing it again this season. We can't. We would be screwed financially, and you can't have 3 managers in a season. You'll turn into Watford. So, yeah, he's made the right call. He has used Enzo, I think, a bit. If Enzo's given Ruud such a glowing reference, then it wouldn't surprise me if Top spoke to Enzo as well during the recruitment process, just to say, what do you reckon? Do you think he'll fancy it? And it's all worked out quite rosy, hasn't it? I think Man United will be kicking themselves. Ruud said he was a bit hurt that he wasn't required in the coaching setup. So their loss is our gain. And it seems to be that you'd said a bit before, Chris, that the thing with sacking first is you get first dibs on availability.
Yes.
I think that was really, really pertinent to Top's decision.
Yes. Brad, I mean, we're already getting linked with players in the January window, so we'll see what happens there. But if you sack somebody in the January window, they've got very little time to assess the players that they've got. This, if you like, I'm looking at December as being Ruud's pre-season. He's got 5 games in December, whatever it is, that he can assess the players. We'll win some. We're not going to win every single one. That would be, you never know, but it would be great if we did, but it's unlikely. But he can look and assess what he's got. So at the start of January, he knows who he might let go, who he might want and need to replace.
Yeah, it's good. And the fact that he's echoed that from the start, he's not shied away from that. And it's something that we're already seeing with changes to the lineup, substitute appearances. He's not just making a substitute for the sake of making a substitute. He's not really throwing somebody on 94 minutes when it's 1-1 just to rest the body. He's making a change I didn't even realise until I watched it back that in the West Ham game, when we were joking about Wout Faes trying to do his best to lose it, it wasn't like we were 2 or 3-0 up when he made that sub, Chris. We were only 1-0 up when Wout Faes and Dakota Reed came on. Your favourite player. So he's making these changes, and he's echoing the words of what he said, because he said in his interviews, and I love watching the interviews, whether the press conferences or whatever, and he said pretty much what we said, Chris, and pretty much what you echoed actually at the start of the show, and what you've said beforehand. Everybody gets a fresh slate. He basically said, I want to see what everybody has to offer me, So, you know, Mavididi, someone mentioned it earlier. I don't know who it was, but maybe he comes in to start for RU. You know, will we see a Coley come off the bench for Vestergaard next, you know, against Newcastle instead of Wout Faes? Maybe. You know, hopefully we don't see Luke Thomas ever again. Sorry. But, you know, maybe he puts somebody out, Hamza on the right, and he puts Justin on the left. He wants to see what Hamza can do in case there's an injury to Justin and we need someone to play right back. I'm looking forward to seeing his teams, Chris. I know there's going to be, like every manager, there's going to be 7 or 8 that probably won't change, i.e. Vardy, Hamadson, probably Christensen, but you know, and someone like that. But he's willing to see what he's got. And like you said, Chris, this 6-game period or whatever it is he's got to kind of judge the players on. He then knows who's buying into it, and maybe they all will, and who's actually going to be somebody that gets game time to meet what they want. And like you said, maybe Chris, you know, if he talks to his backroom staff, which he's very happy to keep right now as it is, same with the players to a degree, might even look at some loanees that are out there, Chris. You know, some top goal scoring championship player who plays for Stoke City. Who knows? Who knows? But we'll see, and it's good to know, Chris. It's good to know that he's already echoing what he said.
We talked about the defence, Kate. Since the 2 wins over Bournemouth and Southampton, we conceded 3 at Forest, 5 at Man United, just 1 at Ipswich, then 3 at Man United again, 2 at Chelsea, 4 at Brentford. And then the 2 games that he's been in charge, we're still conceding, and he's not going to sort of plug that gap overnight, is he? But 2 against Brighton and 1 against West Ham. I think we can all say we can see the improvement in the defence, and the fact that he's making changes when he needs to, like we say, bringing Faes on if he feels he needs a bit of speed there. What else does he have to look at in this team?
I personally think he needs to look at the central part of the midfield, because there's quite a lot of people in the mix for that, because you've got Winks, Skip, Samari, Wilf. You've even got De Cordova Reed maybe could play central. You've got Buonanotte, you've got Bilal maybe. You could even argue Mavididi could be a 10 as well. There's a lot of people in that central mix, which I think is where we've really struggled in terms of turnover and counter-attacking, because I think he's going to play as a counter-attacking team for the foreseeable. And it's how we turn pace once we get possession and push forward quickly, because we need to use our pace to excel at counter-attacking football. And we've got so much pace in the team, but if it doesn't knit together between the back and the front, it's dead on its arse basically before it's even started. And the wingers can come into play, but that tends to be further up the pitch. It's like, what happens when it leaves Winks? What happens or when it leaves Vestergaard? That's where he's got to work on, I think, for me. We've got quite a lot of options on the wings. I think Casey will continue to be persevered with, and I think he's coming on. He's got so much potential, that lad. And I think Mavididi, personally, I think Mavididi needs to get his fitness up. And I think he'll be a contender for 90 minutes, but he's just not. Some of the times I've seen him come on, last week against West Ham in particular, he did a couple of sprints and he was absolutely blowing after a couple of sprints coming on midway through the second half. And he's got to be better than that. This is Premier League football that he's been waiting for all his life, and he's just got to put in the hard yards and the graft and that horrible running that you have to do. So that's going to be his main areas of focus, I think. But on the substitutes thing, I read a really interesting stat earlier from Jordan Blackwell. He said that Ruud van Nistelrooy has used all 5 substitutions in each of his 2 opening games, and 5 out of the 10 subs have been before the 65th minute, compared to just 5 out of 47 under Steve Cooper.
Wow. Now, that's something you don't hear every day, Brad. Intelligent and Jordan Blackwell in the same sentence.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Christmas miracles and all that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, can't believe I'm saying this, but for once, he's spot on, is Jordan Blackwell. I mean, he can't rate a player to save his life, but at least he knows. Maybe his mother typed him that note for him. I don't know. It can't just be his intelligence. But he's right. I mean, it's pragmatic. It wasn't for making substitutes. He knew we needed a bit more about us, and I'm totally fine with someone like Skip, who's able to drive forward. Obviously, we haven't got Winks because he's still recovering, because I would have preferred Winks. in that position. But the fact that he noticed if we're going to go bodies forward, I can't just change the shape and keep the same players on. I've got to throw more caution to the wind. So he put Mavididi on for IU. He put Daka up front, instead of having a number 10 come in there and stay there. He put Skip on and told him to push up because we know Wilf can't do it. I will give that much credit to Kate, who doesn't like him. Wilf can't do that number 10 role to save his life. So you needed someone on there who's going to drive forward. And I like I said, Chris, he said he's going to give people a chance. So the fact that he's made, the max subs in 2 games and half of them before the 65th minute come on, shows you that he knows when to change it up. And he's just, there's always like a wait for it moment with any manager substitute, isn't there? Like,
Yes.
Sometimes you have players on the side and you think about changing it up and then something happens, it changes your mind. But he just seems to go, that's what I'm going to do now because it needs to happen now before it gets to a point of urgency.
I'm not going to ask this, Kate, because we're going to discuss this obviously when we do the show on Thursday. I said on Luke's show last night that I wouldn't mind seeing Hamza in that middle. Look, we're struggling. We know Skip's available. Samari's not. We don't think Winks is. Indeed, he's not. Is it time to give Hamza a shout, Brad?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it comes round quickly, doesn't it? But this time of year is the crazy season. So if players like that, like Hamza, are going to start getting minutes under the belt, I understand what Kate's saying with Mavididi. So maybe for now, keep him at 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe slowly extend his time so he can get his fitness up. But these players are going to need to play because, he's not going to, January 1st isn't going to tick over and he's not going to send 3 people out on loan and assign 4 people. You know what I mean? And even if he did that, they're not going to be ready for the next game. We've got 4 league games and I believe an FA Cup game, which is in the first week of January or maybe the second week. And even then, you might not have a player through the door. You might have one signing by that point. So you've got, say, 7 games, Chris, to really get the most out of these players. And the one thing we can't really afford to do, especially with the generated fixtures that seem to give us Man City and Liverpool over Christmas period again. It's a computer that picks it, though. That we need to get these players on the pitch because there's nothing better. It doesn't matter. You could be out there 12 hours a day doing training drills, match practicing. Nothing beats actual match days and playing on a match day and getting actual proper minutes under your belt and match fitness that way. So I wouldn't be against it, Chris, why we let a few players recover.
I'm going to ask you, Kate, because I felt a little bit. I was shot down by Manny last night. He kind of had a thought that El Khanous would come back, but you can't have El Khanous in that defensive position, can you?
What do you mean come back?
Well, he normally plays further forward.
I thought you meant as if
he's just got that word on the brain, hasn't he, after earlier?
Yeah. Bloody hell. Must be Christmas. Yeah,
it must
Bilal,
be. I mean, I'm like Father
Bilal
Christmas. I've just come once a year.
Bilal is not good enough defensively, I don't think, to even be considered for that type of role. It'd be a waste. It would be a total waste.
Yeah.
Buonanotte, I think, has come on a bit defensively. I don't think he's good at tackling still because it's just not his forte, but he's become a really good little ankle biter where he just keeps persevering. But yeah, Bilal for me would be a waste using him for anything but forward play.
Yeah, I mean, Brunette.
Forward play, Chris, not foreplay.
Yeah, God, get you on out of the gutter.
I wasn't even thinking that, Kate. That's your disgusting mind.
Oh, yeah, I'm disgusting. Yeah, I am disgusting, yeah. Sure.
If you want foreplay, you should have seen our show on Saturday morning for the football foreplay. But yeah, you are two of our best attacking players, Brunette and El Khanous, and you can't stick them in a defensive role.
But Hamza's a possibility. I understand the argument for Hamza because when you compare him with Skip, I'm not sure who really edges it at the minute. I think Skip's a bit better on the ball, but
Could you see Skip and
more
Hamza
aggressive.
together?
See who and Hamza together?
Skip and Hamza together?
I don't think so, no. I think it would be one or the other if we were to utilise Hamza at all. But I do think Hamza will definitely have his place in the team this year. He'll have his purpose for sure.
Can I just say as well, Joe's just reminded me who we're playing at the weekend. We've got Newcastle. Anyone remember that heroic tackle that definitely didn't nearly end a career of a player of Newcastle when Hamza last played against them? They're going to want to get at him if he plays. Maybe that's what we need to fire him up for a Busquets style performance or something like that. Because
Who did he tackle? I don't remember.
Matt Rich or something like that, or whatever his name was, and
I don't know. Okay.
His leg, and he should have got sent off. I think he got a yellow card, or maybe not even a free kick against him. Newcastle fans hated him. I don't know if they probably let it go now. They're not like Man U fans.
Well, it's a bit like Alan Shearer on Neil Lennon, isn't it?
I was about to say that.
Yeah, it was kind of
one each.
Yeah, one each on that front. But he should have got sent off. He could have snapped his leg, to be honest with you. I remember the tackle. Well, maybe that's a shout. Get him on. Get that Newcastle crowd riled so that put the pressure on.
Was that the TV game and they had the John somebody in charge of them?
Maybe. I think we even won the game, to be honest with you, as well.
Well, could be. Apparently, Cannon has just scored for Stoke.
Well, yeah, I said it, and there he goes, he scores again.
The only thing I said for Hamza and Skip was because I'm thinking sort of who's available. Talking of Cannon, and we mentioned him earlier, Brad, let's have a look at what Ruud has to do up front. He actually has got pretty much a bit of a... what's the word I'm looking for? He's got a lot of choice when you look up front, really. You know, Vardy, Dakova Reed, Ayew, Daka, dare I even say Edouard. Is that
don't just stop at Dakova Reed, mate. Don't.
No. If we're going to give Dakova Reed a clean slate, we've got to give Edouard one as well.
We've given Dakova Reed a clean slate, and he's played really well 2 games on the trot. I'm not sure what Edouard has done.
Well, he's not been on, has he? That's the fact. In fairness, you know, you can't. You know,
what does it tell you if it feels like Ruud van Nistelrooy's gone? Everybody gets a new start, and Edouard's gone. Wait, he's gone. Piss off, you. Sit down, not you.
Well, this is the question I'm asking, you know, and I would love Cannon to come back. I really would. We can't because I think he's played too many matches. It doesn't matter.
It's his loan agreement. It depends on his loan agreement. We might have owned him without an option to call back. If we have, then we can't. But that's all he has with a loan.
But I'm just basing it on that. So look, if Edouard stays, we've got to give him a chance. But do we need to go into anywhere else in up front, Brad? I didn't say that very well at all. Do we need to raid the transfer market for another striker is what I was trying to say.
No. I mean, listen here, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we need to get a position. We need a right back. Yeah, Kate, stop it.
Yeah, Kate's fault. I'm not normally like this. It's only when Kate's on the show.
Yeah, we need right side.
I'm glad I'm special.
Well, that's what your mum.
I'm going to say Mrs. Blakemore.
That's why you're on this channel, Kate. But no, where he needs to strengthen is he needs to add depth to the right midfield, or right wing, if you will. Because I agree with Kate. Casey's doing just fine on there, but next season you'd imagine Fatawu recovers, gets back to strength, and is going to be there. But we haven't got cover this season if Casey has an injury or a knock, even if it's a couple of weeks, Chris. You know, we're suddenly going to be putting someone out, potentially bring them out of the cold, trying to get a performance out of them, or we're going to have someone playing well out of position because they can't do it. And right back, funny enough, as better as Justin's looked, only concentrating on his defensive duties, I still want a right back to play right back, funny enough. I'd much prefer it. So he has no reason to bring in anybody because he's got 2 bench options in Daka and Ayew to go for Vardy, and he'll chuck both of them if he feels the need to. The only way you'd need it is if Daka decides to leave. in January, and then you need Tom Cannon in for that pace like player.
Hey, look, I mean, with Ruud, he was looking at Daka when he was at PSV. He wanted to bring him in allegedly at PSV. So he's done his homework on him already. He knows what he's capable of. He wanted him. Now, Daka, we've said this many times, he's a confidence player, isn't he? And when you look at the way that he trudged off the pitch, as I've said before, at Plymouth last season, you know, that he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. So, and managers come in that he knows wanted him before. If anybody's going to get a tune out of Daka, it's going to be Ruud, isn't it? And I don't want to go mad. I mean, he's played one game. He didn't even come on against Brighton. So Did he?
He did, yeah. But they went two up top, didn't they?
He did.
Yeah. And had your favourite player, Dicova Reed, somehow messed it up. Daka was actually in the right place to tap it in anyway. So.
Yeah, I was thinking Dicova Reed came on. I was forgetting Daka would come on. I'm not used to all these strikers being on the pitch.
I know, right? It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Who even are we?
Yes. I tell you what. But no, look, Kate. If I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah.
You're being carried away with Daka.
With Daka, it's been one game, one goal. He took it well. And let's be honest with you, under Cooper, that would have probably ended up in row double Z. We keep hold of Daka, don't we, though?
If he can continue to improve and put in good performances, if it's just a bit of a flash in the pan, then if someone comes in for him, I think I'd be happy to sell him because he's been with us, 4 seasons now, and he's just not reached the heights that his price tag suggested that he will. And I know that it's all about being a confidence player sometimes with a striker, but you've got to have found in that amount of time the catalyst to give you the confidence. And he did have that because he scored 4 times in a European match. He's never been able to push on. I do think he played better in a 2. I'm not sure he's a solo striker. But, yeah, this is last chance saloon for him, really. So we'll see what happens. It might be that his injury's given him a fresh outlook because he's been sidelined for such a long time and he's probably never had that before in his career. It can just make you contemplate and reflect about how strong you want to come back and you're going to give it your all. It can reinvigorate you, can't it, being on the sidelines for a while. So far, so good. He's certainly looked a different Daka to the Enzo Daka that we saw as well. It's not just about Steve. Like Enzo couldn't get that guy to play a tune either. So we'll wait and see. But it's looked brighter for sure. And he did some excellent play. And the tenacity he showed for the goal last week to intercept it from the defender and how he wrong-footed him before he took it on his left was brilliant. And I'm just not sure we'd have seen that before. Even when we were doing really well last year, we just wouldn't have seen that. You know, he fluffed that goal at Ellen Road. And, you know, there's some real big moments for Hamza last year that could have reinvigorated that confidence and just didn't.
Brad, I just want to go, Brad, throw something at you that Kate said there. Has he had his chance? We could say that about Samari, though, couldn't we?
Yeah, you could say that about Samari. You could have up until last season said that about Vestergaard in a way. You know, you could have in a different way, I guess. You could have said that about Christensen. You could have, well, he had his chance for Brendan. He obviously is no good. That's why Enzo ships him out. He shouldn't come back in. You know, but this really is the season of redemption arcs, it seems. And that comment by Brookline probably sums it up perfectly. You know, we always say this about Jamie Vardy when he starts on the bench. What do you not want to see as a defender? You don't want to see Jamie Vardy down in a Red Bull because he's going to come up and run at you for the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever. And he's going to ruin your day because he's going to make sure you go off that pitch knackered. Again, he clearly, and it's kind of getting the Kelechi effect here, he clearly benefits being in a 2 because it allows him to be a little bit spread in his play, not dead central, which I don't think suits him at all. Because you're never going to play to his complete natural strength the way he wants to, because we play to the team. I feel like his goal typified that against West Ham. Like I said, he came across, nicked the ball off him, and showed the confidence. I don't think we've ever seen it. The way he took that, Chris, is as if he'd scored 30 goals last season, and he'd scored 10 already this season. It was a great finish, and maybe that's what we're going to get out of Daka. You know, maybe Daka's I hate to say it because you know how much I loved him, but unlike Kels, he's not going to be like, oh, well, I don't want to be a substitute. I want to be ahead of Vardy. He's going to be like, yeah, I'll take my opportunities. I'll try and score as many goals as I can. So if or when, should we say, we never know with Vardy, but when that time comes and there's an opening for the main striker's role, I've done enough to prove I deserve it and we'll get it. And if you want to compare him to Jamie Vardy, he's the same age as Jamie Vardy was when he started his career at Leicester, and this was his peak. I know he didn't do non-league this way, but he's 26. He turned 26 this year. So who knows, Chris? They say that's when strikers peak. You know, prime, sorry, not peak.
There is a very good post on The Athletic, and do subscribe. I know I keep saying this. There are offers on there all the time, but there's a very good post on The Athletic about Jamie Vardy. 37 years, 11 months old he is, and look, he's still going strong. We'll end on this, though. Kate, last night, West Ham United 2, Wolves 1. Gary O'Neill looks like he's still there. Lopetigo, Floppy Loppy, looks like he might extend that. I mean, I'm pleased. I don't want them to be sacked, to be honest with you. Certainly not before Christmas for Wolves, because I think it's doing us a favour. We're going to stay up, aren't we, with Ruud? Or I feel more confident about staying up. What three's going down for you?
Southampton, I think Ipswich. I'll say Palace.
No Wolves. You think Wolves will get out?
I think they'll get out of it.
Brad, let me throw the same question at you.
Staying as it is. It's just staying as it is. But Ipswich and Wolves typified in fighting games when they needed it. They couldn't afford to not get a point from their games at the minimum. You know, against Bournemouth and against West Ham, and they both capitulated at the end. After, you know, Southampton are already in the Championship. Let's admit that was the easiest one to pick. But I just don't see it changing. Even Palace are picking up points now. They are starting to have to crank their net right up and looking at Palace, Everton, Leicester going, God, that could get worse and worse before we even play them in 2 games' time. You know, it's not going to get any easier. I just don't see it changing.
I think the thing I would say to you both there, if I'd asked this question maybe a month ago, you might have left Leicester out of it because we're Leicester fans. I would leave Leicester out of it now because I feel confident we can stay up. Would you both agree with that?
No, yeah, 100%. I would have said, honestly, I think we actually might go down, but I'd have picked someone in worse form at that point, or just as bad as form at that point. But yeah, I feel
how you feel, Kate?
Yeah, I think so. I think I feel much more confident that Ruud will make the most of what we've got.
Can I just say, obviously, next week, Kate, after Newcastle, that you are going to be writing the piece for the BBC. If we lose, I think you should resign, because it seems that I seem to write when we do well, and you seem to write when we do wrong.
Don't say that. You've just jinxed it.
Yeah.
No, I am just pointing out. I mean,
who are you? So you are fully responsible for Leicester's wins. Is that what you're trying to say?
I've got to say that my first report, I think, when I came back from Australia, was Southampton. My case is rested, as they say.
You know, when people slag off Jordan Ayew, he's given me that moment, and that will never, ever be taken away from my life.
No, totally. And I have to say, we bought him, as we have with Dakova Reed. Let's hope they can both, well, I think they are starting to come good for us, you know, and at the end of the day, we want them to score goals. Kate, Brad, thank you very much. Kate, where can people find you?
I'm on X or Twitter at Kate Blakey40, and I do some BBC stuff as well with Chris. So look for me on there for the fans' voice.
She does. When we lose, she does it. Yes. Brad, who is never on the BBC because they always ignore his comments, but where can people find you?
Well, people can't find me on the BBC because I'm too good for the BBC. They can shove it. Don't want the job offer. They can also find me on Twitter. It's not that stupid one-letter name. It's Twitter at Full-Time Focus. Yeah.
Has Channel 5 been in touch with you yet, Brad?
Yeah, they sent me. Well, I rang them and they sent me to voicemail. So it tells you how well my career's going for the TV.
Kate, I will see you Thursday afternoon. Brad, I will see you Thursday evening. Thanks very much, guys. All the best. Thanks for coming on.
See you later. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks to both Kate and Brad there. Appreciate them coming on and giving up their time. So it's a busy week this week. Let me tell you what we have coming up. In fact, I'm going to have to check my diary. I'm having a day off tomorrow. Job's a good one. And to be honest with you, I did a Francis Rossi from Status Quo interview for the radio on Monday, so I haven't put that together yet. Got to cut out all the swearing. On Thursday, you can catch me and Ant doing the City catch-up at 1, at 2. It's the pick and mix with Kate will be picking her team. I'm just there as a bit of glamour, to be honest with you. She'll be picking her team at 2 o'clock. And then the prediction show with Brad at 7 o'clock. So thank you very much. And I hope to see you on one of those. Indeed, Terry, you are quite right. You are quite right. But thanks to everybody that's been in and joining the chat. Really do appreciate it, as always. And I will see you, hopefully, on one of those shows tomorrow. Take care. All the best. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, ho, 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 ho. Thank you for watching. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.